Hello everyone, this is Koji from Celestial Rhythms. Today we want to look at the year 2021 in comparison to last year and see what the differences will be. Hopefully it will get much better, and the charts actually are saying that. So we're looking at the New Year's moment. Now this is astrologically, maybe you would say, not a very poignant moment. However, it's a convention globally that this is a new beginning, and that is in itself important. It is the collective mind which creates reality. We create reality, and what we believe in is manifesting. So that's why this moment is so important. And if we look at different years, I have 2020 here as well, which we will be looking at for a moment, and you will see how exact that signature of that moment is, and manifesting then in the upcoming 365 days. So yes, let's start off with the year 2020, 1 year ago. You will see the sun and the ascendant is pretty much always in the same place. That is the nature of the beast, if you want to say. It is that moment at midnight on January 1st when the sun is around the 10th degree of Capricorn, and Libra will be rising. So if we look at last year's chart for a moment, we see the moon was conjunct Neptune, and here in the 6th house together with the black moon and Chiron. 6th house is about health, well-being. So this in itself was an indicator that something was up with health, deception most likely with Neptune in there, illness, something of that kind. Also, Mars was in a perfect opposition to Hygeia, which is about health, well-being. Sedna is neglect, abuse, all these dark themes, alien worlds, and also links in with disclosure of all of that. So this in itself, that Mars and that Moon were kind of warning signs, at least. Also the looming Saturn-Pluto conjunction, which was the one big event in early January 10, 12, 2020, which set the pace, that spiritual war, that final battle for who we are and where we are going, at that big crossroads in history, that final clash of the titans. What was nice, and I kind of hoped this would be holding stronger, it did in some way, was this Jupiter here at the midnight point together with Mercury and the South Node and the Sun here in a close conjunction, in a stellium, as we say in astrology. So Jupiter would had made one guess that this would be a kind of more easygoing, expansive, and in good spirits, which it somehow was, despite all the hardship. I mean, we got free money from the government. That is kind of that Jupiter here too. It was not much, it was something. We all kind of survived. There were not many casualties, considering the seriousness of the situation we are going through. Definitely we have been spared in many ways. That is this Jupiter signature, I would retrospectively argue. So the other one which is interesting is Makemake, which is in both charts, as you see. If we now go on to the 2021 January 1st chart, both times exactly at the ascendant. Makemake is a very slow moving Kuiper belt object named after a creation god of the Easter Islands area, where all the which is a really interesting culture in itself. The expression of Makemake is it's a creation god, and it's about manifesting things, about not just great ideas about creation, but hands-on 3D tangible creation. And that is definitely a sign of our times. We are recreating our world from inside out, and this has been going on for a few years now. It's culminating even more so over the coming few years. So this is a slow process. Now the moon in this year's chart is in Leo. That's beautiful. That is the sun's energy. Naturally, Leo is the sun's sign. It is about standing in the bright light, claiming our sovereignty, freedom, daring to speak up, being bold and clear, and also celebrating, shining. It is all of that. So the year 2021 definitely brings us out of that closet, out of that mode of deception and of being played with, into the bright light and taking charge. Further, let's look at a few other aspects here which stand out. The third house stands out. The third house about communication and coming together, sharing ideas. That Juno Astrea conjunction stands out here. Juno is when people come together and team up and work together and understand that we have to be the ones carrying through this revolution. That's exactly what's happening if we look down and into the United States. Most certainly, I'm here in Canada, that's why I'm saying it that way. We are kind of neighbors. We're strong involved in the whole thing. We are hoping for big changes down south, and this will then ripple out all over the globe. Astrea is the one who is rolling its sleeves back, hands on, getting involved, solving problems, doing what's necessary, cleaning up. Venus and the South Node, that is interesting. That is the craving for harmony, and that we are recreating that beauty and that kind of freedom-loving environment which Sagittarius is all about. Jupiter's energy, Jupiter and Saturn now in Aquarius since winter solstice when they had their conjunction. That's beautiful, all these planets in the fourth house. Yes, it's about redefining our roots in many, many ways. If we now go into the Greenwich charts, the global charts, they look almost identical. It's only that the moon has moved a few hours more in that sense in when we have New Year in Greenwich. In other words, it's still 8 p.m. or 7 p.m. in Washington, in the Eastern Standard Time Zone, where Washington DC is. So the moon is slightly less advanced. So you see, if we compare that quickly, 5 227 here, over here, versus 244. Interesting that the moon here in the global chart is pretty dead on exact opposing Jupiter, actually just by 2 minutes closing in, which is what's called still an applying opposition, which is still the build-up of the momentum. And Jupiter moon is very loud, and it's the people's voice which will be very loud. In that sense, the people are represented by the moon. Also interesting that T-square to Rhadamanthus, an Kuiper belt object, if I'm not mistaken, named after the Vedic god or king Rhadamanthus, who was put in charge to speak justice, and after he passed away, he actually was the one to judge over the dead. So this is a big energy, although a small and new planet. This is a big energy in Scorpio now. So this is about justice, and justice has shown up in many ways. Justice also is represented naturally by Pallas in Aquarius here. Pallas in a trine to Makemake and the ascendant. So justice overall is a big word for this coming year. Also, this square here of Pallas with the black moon shows that this will be a key focus to hone in on the shadow energies and to expose them. And this shows really strong. As I looked into other charts, I will speak about them in the coming days and weeks when I get to it. The second half of 2021 will be about that, bringing all these cases into the forefront and into the public arena. And this will be quite a ride for all the people who have not really been on that same page. Varuna also here, another one which is about righteousness and justice, also in that same angle, tied in with the moon, Rhadamanthus, Jupiter, Saturn. So if we go for a moment back to the new year in Greenwich, the global chart for 2020, what I just want to say a few more things. Most of it I covered already because the charts are so similar. The Moon-Neptune conjunction was much more exact on the global level than it was in the chart for Washington. You see here we have a separating Neptune-Moon conjunction, which is already kind of a release. So in that sense, here in North America, we already were out of the most critical zone of that. We got caught on a bad foot, definitely, but it was less than overall the impact was felt. Here in the Greenwich chart we have an applying Moon-Neptune conjunction, so that confusion, that deception was really still building up in that way. Yes, and then the other charts I want to show you are the midpoint charts. Now let's again start first the midpoint chart with with last year. Let's start with last year with the American Nations chart, and again this it's just overwhelming how powerful this shows up. This Saturn at the 7th house cusp here, 11:15, 12:08. That's within less than a degree. And Pluto here opposing. So that Pluto-Saturn theme, which I already mentioned, that spiritual war, that clash of the titans, which 2020 definitely was, is showing up here in the midpoints with the American nation between that new year chart of 2020 and the opposition, the really less than a degree exact with Pluto at the ascendant, Saturn at the descendant. This in itself is remarkable and proves in many ways that the American Nations chart works, that this is a perfect moment to be taken as a root chart, even more so as we have this Nessus Mars conjunction here, exactly T-squaring this ascendant, descendant, Saturn, Pluto, and then there is Bienor down here. Now let me give you a few words here. Bienor is a strong man holding the ground. So the American nation, they were holding the ground through all that, and Mars is here very inflicted with Nessus. That's all those dark events, the riots, and the conflicts, and people being blamed and played and deceived on so many levels. So Mars Nessus still shows up in the American chart, the in the secondary progressions. That's what I want to say. In the secondary progressions, Nessus is still at the 7th house cusp, so this will still be going on for a while before we are fully out of the bush. But it is powerful how this shows up here. Also that Moon Astrea opposition in T-square with Huya, and here also Chiron and Uranus in that same range. So this is again a grand square. This in a few words, the Moon in Virgo is about again health and well-being in many ways, but this is in a kind of in a clash, in a difficult situation. It's about again that Astrea energy of solving problems. Chiron comes always in when there's a struggle, when something has to be healed. Uranus in square to the Moon is upsetting, at the least challenging. Huya, another one which I have been regularly talking about, named after a Venezuelan rain and winter god, is about transformation and the healing of wounds. So you see, there's lots of, even if we just skim the surface here a little bit. And now let's go into the 2021 chart, and let's see how things look here. So first of all, again, let's look at the Moon. Interestingly enough, at 24 degrees Taurus, and just want to quickly show you, 24 degrees Taurus is an important degree in the in Donald Trump's chart, President Trump's chart. That's his 10th house cusp. So I mean, that's another sign that most certainly Donald Trump will be still president in this coming year and 4-year period. This is the one I'm talking about. The midpoint chart between the American peoples and the New Year 2021. we're coming out of Sedna Sun opposition, so it is kind of, we're out of that exactness that is nice. It also means that there will be kind of a slow recovery. It won't go too fast. What is still critical is this black moon south node conjunction here up in the 9th house. If we look at the American nations chart, that is where their birth sun is, where the sun was. So this shows that the nation goes quite through critical and difficult changes, facing shadows, facing the past, really cleaning up all the dark stuff. This will be a year of cleanup, absolutely, in the American nation, no question. The Leo midheaven, the Scorpio rising, another sign of intensity. The North Node at the 3rd house cusp, very important to disseminate true information, to inform people, to spread the good news, and then deal with the difficult issues. So yes, that's all for today. Thanks again for joining and listening, and talk to you soon again. Okay.